One moment, everything feels calm and manageable, then suddenly, the chaos strikes like a storm, tearing through your peace. The honk of impatient traffic, a sudden burst of bad news, a familiar voice delivering just the right words to ignite your temper, the relentless pressure building from all sides, and there you are, spinning inside your own head, flooded by thoughts you can't seem to control. Why does staying calm feel like such a struggle? Why does it seem like your own mind becomes the enemy when you need it to be your anchor? Here's a truth that's hard to swallow but impossible to ignore. If you don't learn to train your mind, it will end up controlling every part of your life. But what if I told you there's another way? A way to take the reins back, to reclaim the stillness within even when the world outside is in turmoil? Imagine a path, one that's been walked by some of the greatest minds in human history, that leads straight through the storm, calm, clear, and steady. That's the power of Stoicism. This philosophy teaches us that peace isn't about having everything go right, it's about choosing how to respond when everything seems to go wrong. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to do that. You're going to discover how to train your mind to stay calm, not just in quiet moments, but in the most chaotic, stressful, unpredictable situations life throws at you. Because no matter what happens around you, your only real choice is this. Either you control your mind, or your mind controls you. And before we dive into the how, let me share a story that might feel surprisingly familiar. It's the story of Tomas. At 33 years old, Tomas had what most would consider a stable life. But beneath the surface, he carried a silent, dangerous habit: never let anything out. Every frustration, every disappointment, every emotional bruise from the day got buried deep. Whether it was stress from work, cutting remarks from others, or small setbacks that slowly piled up, Tomas always kept going like everything was fine. But inside, it was chaos, a buzzing hornet's nest that got louder each day. And at night, he'd find himself exploding over the tiniest things: a noisy neighbor, a package that didn't arrive, a toaster that wouldn't work. Nothing serious. Yet all it took was a spark to ignite the storm. One summer night it happened. His partner said just 6 words: "You're always so angry." And that was it. Something in him snapped. He yelled, slammed doors, hurled accusations, and then walked out. Hours passed. He wandered the city streets in silence, unable to calm the storm inside. As dawn approached, he found himself sitting alone on a park bench. He pulled out his phone without thinking and opened YouTube. The very first video that appeared showed a phrase he'd never seen before. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Intrigued and with nothing to lose, he tapped play. That was the beginning. That night, he didn't sleep. Instead, he dove deep into the world of Stoicism. He discovered names like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and for the first time in his life, something inside clicked. These weren't just clever quotes. They were brutal, liberating truths. He read, "It's not things that upset us, but our opinions about them." He realized that the more power something held over him, the weaker he was. That he could choose not to be hurt, and by choosing that, he could become free. Tomas understood a simple but powerful lesson that no one had ever taught him. Calm isn't something you're born with or gifted. It's a skill, a mental muscle you train. And from that day forward, he made a commitment to change. Whenever he felt the impulse to lash out, he paused to breathe. When he wanted to complain, he paused to observe. When that tight knot of tension gripped his chest, he didn't scream, he went for a walk. Sure, he still made mistakes. He was still human. But little by little, something shifted. He was no longer a prisoner to his emotions. Anger still knocked at the door, but now he didn't always answer. Slowly and quietly, Tomas began to transform. He stopped reacting to every little thing. He didn't need to shout to prove a point. He started to understand that real control isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's quiet. It's felt from within. And maybe, just maybe, you're not Thomas, but chances are, you've had moments where your mind took you places you didn't want to go. And like Tomas, you're about to learn that peace doesn't come when everything around you is calm. It comes when you've trained everything inside you to stay grounded, even when the world is shaking. Today, I'm going to show you how to build that kind of inner strength, so you're not depending on traffic, weather, bosses, or someone else's mood to feel okay. You're going to learn how to find calm, even in the chaos. And believe me, if Tomas could do it, so can you. But before we go further, if this content is already giving you something valuable, consider subscribing and becoming a member. You'll get access to unique perks, and we'd love for you to grow with us. Let us know in the comments what's one thing you'll do today to take control of your mind. Or just write, "I'm a Stoic." Because this isn't just a video, it's a movement. And now, let's dive in. So now you know if Thomas could change by mastering his mind, so can you. But the real test begins when life pushes your buttons and you don't even realize it. Think about those everyday moments someone makes a rude comment and you spend the next 30 minutes replaying the perfect comeback you should have said. Or worse, someone cuts you off in traffic and you feel a surge of rage that hits harder than watching your favorite team lose the Champions League final. That's exactly what your mind does when left untrained. It becomes a wild horse, galloping in every direction without a rider, unpredictable and untamed. And if you don't take the reins, that wild mind will drag you through the mud, leaving you exhausted, reactive, and miserable. Whether your goal is to stay calm, make smarter choices, or simply reduce your daily stress, the truth remains, if you don't control your mind, it will control you, and not kindly. Imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting, everything's flowing smoothly, you're relaxed, maybe even feeling accomplished. Then someone across the table drops a sharp remark, a stinging jab wrapped in a joke. It lands like a punch straight to your ego. Your blood heats up, your heart pounds, and your mind rushes to deliver the wittiest retort to put them in their place. But wait, do you really need to react? Or is it just your untrained mind trying to take the wheel again? This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said it clearly centuries ago. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Take a moment and ask yourself, was that comment truly hurtful? Or was it the meaning you attached to it? Suppose someone tells you, "You could have done that better." Your mind can instantly interpret this as, "They think I'm incompetent. I must have disappointed them." Suddenly, you're spiraling, mentally revisiting every mistake from the past 3 months, drowning in a sea of self-doubt. But what if you flipped the script? What if you took it simply as a neutral observation, a suggestion for growth, rather than an insult? The words are identical. What changes is the story you tell yourself. That's the real battleground. The challenge is that most of us don't even realize how often our mind distorts reality. Our brain's ancient alarm system, the amygdala, hardwired to detect threats. And guess what? It can't tell the difference between a real lion about to attack and a snide, passive-aggressive comment. To your brain, both are red alerts. That's why training your mind is essential. Calm doesn't fall from the sky like a miracle. It's developed, honed, practiced, just like any other skill. So, how exactly do you do it? Start with the 3-second pause. Next time something triggers you, don't react right away. Take a deep breath and silently count to 3. That tiny moment is enough for your logical brain to step in and stop your instincts from running wild. Step 2, rewrite the story you're telling yourself. If your first thought is, "They disrespected me, I have to respond," replace it with, "I'm not giving this my energy." It sounds simple, but it reshapes your entire emotional response. And finally, activate what I call observer mode. Picture the situation like a scene in a movie. Watch it unfold from the outside. Ask yourself, what would the calmest, wisest character in history do right now? You already know the answer. They wouldn't explode over something so trivial. My friend, if you don't take charge of your mind, someone or something else will. And most of the time, it's your autopilot reactions that cause the damage. So the next time anger, anxiety, or frustration come knocking, remember you hold the reins. You decide if you pull back or let the wild horse take over. Now, let's talk about one of the most dangerous hijackers of your mind: anger. Imagine you're driving peacefully on the highway. The sun is shining, your favorite song is on, everything feels just right. Then suddenly, the steering wheel jerks out of your hands. It swerves violently, ignores your input, speeds up without warning. Panic sets in, you're no longer the one driving. That's exactly what anger does. One minute you think you're in control, and the next you're a passenger in your own body, being dragged toward a crash. Anger takes the wheel, makes you say things you don't mean, act in ways you later regret. And when it's finally over, all that's left behind is wreckage, damaged relationships, broken trust, lost opportunities. Because anger doesn't just disrupt your mind. It separates you from your core values: peace, clarity, and the power to respond thoughtfully. Need proof? Just rewind to one of the most unforgettable moments in recent pop culture: Will Smith at the Oscars. Everything was lining up for him. It was his night. He was about to receive the highest honor of his career. Then Chris Rock made a joke about his wife. And what did Will do? He didn't pause. He didn't breathe. He let anger take over. He got up, walked across the stage, and slapped Chris in front of millions of viewers. One moment of unchecked emotion and impulse that overpowered years of discipline, reputation, and respect. That, right there, is what happens when you let anger drive. And it's never worth the cost. That one moment of anger, just 1 second of losing control, can undo years of hard work, reputation, and respect. As we saw with Will Smith, all it took was a single impulse, one flash of unfiltered emotion, for everything he had built to crash in front of the world. His mind didn't pause to ask, "Is this really worth it?" And the consequences were immediate and irreversible. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who lived centuries ago, knew this truth well. He said that the person who gets angry always suffers more than the one who caused the offense. Why? Because while the person who insulted you might forget it in minutes, you carry the sting of it for hours, days, sometimes even years, replaying the words, rehearsing arguments in your head, reopening the wound every time you think about it. Seneca developed a rule to protect himself from becoming a slave to anger. He gave himself time. Whenever someone tried to provoke him, he didn't respond right away. He knew that the mind, when inflamed by anger, gives the worst advice. The solution wasn't to suppress the emotion or pretend it wasn't there. The solution was to create space to pause, observe, and let the flame die down before doing anything. So how do you take back the wheel when anger is trying to rip it from your hands? One of the most effective strategies is surprisingly simple. Let it pass. Don't cling to it. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor discovered something fascinating. Anger, at a chemical level in the brain, only lasts about 90 seconds. That's it. 90 seconds of physical reaction. So let me ask you this, can't you handle just 90 seconds? Think about it. Some commercials last longer. But here's where the real danger lies. It's not the original spark of anger that causes damage, it's what we do with it. During those 90 seconds, we feed it, we stew in it. We imagine what we should have said, we replay the injustice, we assign meaning that fuels our outrage. And before we know it, what started as a passing reaction becomes a full-blown storm that lasts for hours or days. The next time you feel that heat rise in your chest, don't react. Just notice. Sit with it. Count to 90 and focus on your breath. If you resist the urge to fan the flames, they'll fade on their own. And if you want to help that process along, move your body. Anger is physical. It lives in your shoulders, your jaw, your clenched fists, your shallow breathing. If you just sit there and do nothing, it builds and builds like pressure in a sealed container. But if you move, stretch, or simply unclench your hands slowly, you let that energy escape before it explodes. Try this. Clench your fists as tight as you can feel the tension in, and then slowly release. That little action sends a signal to your brain that says, I'm letting this go. And here's another powerful tool. Ask yourself, will this matter a week from now? In the heat of the moment, everything feels massive, urgent, irreversible. But with a little distance, you'll often realize it wasn't such a big deal. Next time something pushes your buttons, pause and imagine yourself a week from now looking back. If you're not going to care by then, don't let it ruin today. Let's be honest, if anger really solved problems, then people who yell the loudest or slam tables the hardest would be the happiest people in the world. But that's not how it works. The smartest choice is always to channel that energy into something meaningful. Because losing your temper doesn't make you powerful, it makes you reactive. The next time you feel like flooring the gas with no brakes, remember, you're still holding the steering wheel. Which brings us to an even deeper truth. Calm isn't weakness. It's not a lack of courage or energy. It's what real winners use to lead. Picture a battlefield. The ground is shaking beneath heavy footsteps. Screams rise in all directions. Swords clash. Chaos reigns. Soldiers are shouting, running, striking blindly in fear and confusion. In the middle of it all, someone appears, not panicking, not yelling, not rushing. He walks through the noise with measured steps. His breath is steady, his eyes focused. He doesn't react to the madness around him. He observes, he calculates, and when he acts, it's with clarity, not desperation. That is what true power looks like. That's the kind of presence that commands real respect. He doesn't need to shout to be heard. He doesn't need to push to make space. His calm is what gives him strength, what sets him apart. Now think about the world we live in. These days, the louder someone talks, the more they interrupt, the more aggressively they argue, the more people assume they must be right. It's as if anger has become a kind of currency of performance. But what if the real power move is to stay calm? What if strength looks like stillness? What if control means not giving the drama what it wants? Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence. Not because silence is weakness, but because silence is choice. It's mastery. When you react with fury, you give away your power. When you stay silent, you keep it. That doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you choose not to add fuel to the fire." The strongest people aren't those who explode. They're the ones who know when to observe, when to wait, and when to act with purpose. Because calm isn't passive, it's powerful. And in a world of noise, the quietest person often holds the most control. So in a world where staying calm sets you apart, what does real leadership look like? It's not the loudest voice in the room. It's not the one who commands with fear or tries to dominate through volume or force. As Simon Sinek wisely points out, true leaders are the ones who remain composed in the heart of chaos. They're the ones who think clearly when everyone else is overwhelmed. Whether it's in the boardroom or your own kitchen, the person who stays centered is the one people follow. Because that kind of calm, it's magnetic. It radiates quiet confidence. And it's not some lucky trait you're born with, it's a discipline. It's something you build, like a muscle, through intentional practice. Picture this. You're negotiating with your landlord about the damp patches spreading across the ceiling. At first, the conversation is civil, but then you see his shoulders tense, his tone shifts, becoming defensive. Your instinct? Maybe it's to talk over him, to raise your voice, to show you're not someone to mess with. But that's where the difference shows. If you stay calm, speak firmly, and keep your emotions in check, something powerful happens. You don't just preserve your dignity, you gain silent authority. You don't appear weak. You appear focused. You appear in control. You come off as someone who knows what they want and doesn't need to yell to get it. So, how do you train this kind of calm, the kind that doesn't disappear when things get messy? First, take strategic pauses. When tension rises, don't jump to respond. Give yourself a brief moment. Sometimes, a pause says more than a whole paragraph. It forces the other person to stop and reconsider. It shows you're not reacting, you're choosing. Second, pay attention to the rhythm of your voice. You don't have to shout to be heard. In fact, the louder you speak, the more desperate you sound. But a voice that's steady, slow, and deliberate, that commands attention. Calm has its own volume and it's often the quietest voice in the room that carries the most weight. And third, master the Stoic gaze. The one that doesn't flare with anger or fold with fear. The one that simply watches cool, steady, unbothered. Because when someone tries to provoke you and meets that level gaze instead of the outburst they expected, they're left stunned. They came for a reaction. What they got was your peace. Remember that warrior from earlier, the one who walked through chaos without flinching? He wasn't weak. He was the most dangerous one of all. Because calm isn't just an attitude. It's a strategy, a mindset, a shield. It separates those who react from those who lead. And if you can hold on to your calm when the world shakes, then you're already one step ahead. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Life is not fair. And the sooner you make peace with that, the freer your mind becomes. I know it sounds cold, but it's reality. Life doesn't always reward the hardest workers, the kindest souls, or the most committed hearts. Sometimes, the person who puts in half the effort gets twice the credit. While you're breaking your back, someone else might leap ahead with a lucky break, a dishonest shortcut, or a convenient connection. Is that fair? Number. Can you control it? Not a chance. So what now? Do you stew in bitterness? Do you rage against the system? Do you drown in complaints? Because here's the thing, getting stuck in frustration only adds more chaos to your already overloaded mind. And if you've been following along, you know by now that the one thing you must train above all is your ability to stay calm when life feels deeply, painfully unfair. Let me share a story. A woman named Marta had been working for over a decade as an administrative assistant. She was dependable, organized, always went above and beyond. When an internal promotion opened up, she applied with confidence. She had every qualification. But guess what? The job went to someone who had only been there 6 months and just happened to be the boss's nephew. Marta felt invisible. And yes, it hurt. Badly. But what could she do? Demand fairness from the universe? Throw a tantrum at her boss? Retreat into resentment? Of course not. Instead, Marta remembered a principle from Epictetus. Don't ask for things to happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you will find peace. That line became her anchor. It reminded her that asking life to be fair is like yelling at the rain for making you wet. You can scream all you want, but you're still soaked. Or you can open your umbrella, accept the storm, and keep walking. Marta didn't let that moment define her. She chose action over reaction, calm over chaos, and that small shift changed her trajectory. She eventually found a new company, one that valued her, where she now trains new employees and is finally seen for the talent she always was. The past didn't magically disappear. The unfairness still happened. But she didn't let it poison her peace. Now, imagine yourself in her shoes. Or better yet, think of a time when you gave everything, only to be overlooked or let down. That familiar sting, that temptation to scream, to retreat, to wallow, that's where the real test lies. And the one thing that can carry you forward isn't rage, it's calm. So when life throws injustice in your face, like it did to Marta, the power is not in fixing the unfairness, it's in choosing how you respond. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe it was a scholarship you poured your soul into, a project you gave your heart to, or a moment of vulnerability where you spoke your truth and still, you lost. Your mind wants to scream. It wants to shout, "This isn't fair, I deserve better." And that feeling builds like a storm. But here's the truth. If you let yourself get swept up in that emotional hurricane, you start to lose more than the opportunity. You lose your clarity. You drain your energy. And worst of all, you hand over control. So, let me challenge you with something simple but powerful. Try the acceptance challenge for just one day. That's it. One day without complaining. Don't complain about traffic. Don't complain about your boss. Don't complain about the weather. Just try to observe things as they are, accept what you can't control, and shift your focus to what you can. It might sound naive or even silly, but I promise your mind will notice. It'll stop wasting energy chasing problems that aren't yours to fix. And in that space, calm begins to grow. Now, maybe you're thinking, but what if acceptance feels impossible? Then believe in something bigger than yourself. Call it what you like: life, the universe, destiny, a greater plan. Or, if you want something visual and a little more playful, imagine you have a Stoic GPS inside your mind. It says, "Turn right. Your boss was just unfair. Keep going straight. Don't stop. Trust the route." It doesn't always explain why, but it leads you where you need to go. Sometimes, the only way to preserve your peace is to trust there's meaning in the chaos, even if you can't see it yet. Because one of the greatest tools in training your mind is this: learning to stop fighting the things you can't change. Life won't always treat you the way you think you deserve. But that doesn't stop you from choosing your response. And that, my friend, is where your true freedom begins. Now, let me hear from you. In the comments, tell me about a time when life hit you with something completely unfair. What did you do? How did you handle it? This channel isn't just a place to learn, it's a space to grow together. Your story matters here. Let's lift each other up. And now, let's talk about something we all face: the loss of control. We've all been there. You're standing calmly in a supermarket line, minding your own business, and someone casually walks in front of you like they own the place. They even smile as if everything's fine and proceed like nothing happened. What do? Do you yell? Do you let rage boil inside you? Or do you take a breath and decide, you know what? This isn't worth ruining my day? A fascinating study from Yale University found something important. When people believe they have control over their emotions, they automatically react more calmly in stressful situations. In short, it's not a superpower. It's not magic. It's not something you're born with. It's a choice, a mindset, and yes, you can choose it too. Because absolutely no one has the power to take away your peace unless you willingly hand it over. Epictetus said it best: "It's not enough to be harmed, you must believe you've been harmed." What does that mean? It means it's not the words, the look, the action that hurts you. It's what you allow your mind to do with it. And that's where everything begins. Your mind can either betray you or become your greatest ally. If left untrained, your mind jumps in with automatic reactions. It sees a threat and triggers your amygdala, primitive part of your brain designed to keep you safe. But in modern life, that alarm system doesn't always help. One minute you're fine, and the next you're snapping back, dripping with sarcasm, or completely shutting down just because your brain misread a harmless comment as danger. But what if you took back the reins? What if you could pause that impulse before it crashes your day? I use a little trick that I call emotional airplane mode. Just like when you switch your phone to airplane mode and disconnect from everything, you can do the same with your mind. Picture this. Instead of reacting right away, you hit an invisible button, and for a moment, everything quiets down. That pause gives you just enough space to ask the question that matters most. Does this even deserve a reaction? Most of the time, the answer is no. Let me give you a real example. At family gatherings, there's always that one person who comments on how I look. You look tired. Have you lost weight? You should eat more. These used to ruin my entire day. I'd replay the comments, feel insecure, and shrink inside. But now, I've trained myself. When I feel that reaction start to bubble up, I hit airplane mode. I breathe. I stay silent. I don't let their words decide my mood. And here's the magic: it works. The other person is expecting a reaction. They're waiting for drama. But I choose peace instead. Here's another powerful question to ask yourself. Do I really want to give this person control over how I feel today? That one thought alone activates the wiser, more conscious part of your brain. And in that moment, calm wins. Think about it, if we allowed every little annoyance to steal our peace, we'd be living with the emotional stability of a volcano. And you're not here to erupt. You're here to evolve. That's why staying calm isn't just a mindset, it's a skill you can build. And every moment you choose not to explode, you grow stronger. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, take a breath. Remind yourself that losing your temper isn't automatic, it's a decision. Now let's dive into something most people forget entirely when stress takes over. Your body. Imagine this. You're standing in your kitchen. The rice is boiling over. Notifications won't stop pinging on your phone. The kids are yelling in the background. And just when you think it can't get any louder, an email from work pops up urgent. Your breathing speeds up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. But it feels shallow. Your chest tightens. Your palms start to sweat. Your whole body tenses up like you're preparing for battle. But what's the enemy? Nothing drastic has even happened. Yet inside, it feels like a storm is forming, and you're stuck right in the eye of it. Your mind races, bouncing from one thought to another like it's on a runaway roller coaster. You don't even know what set it off anymore. You just know you can't find the brakes. You feel anxious, and worst of all, you feel helpless. But what if I told you that in that exact moment, you had a secret weapon? Not a mantra, not a meditation, not a pep talk, but a reset button. A way to take back control when everything feels like too much. Here it is. Move. That's right, move your body. This isn't random advice. It's backed by science. A study published in Lancet Psychiatry revealed that regular physical activity reduces the chances of suffering from high stress by a whopping 43%. That's not just significant, it's game-changing. It's like wearing an invisible armor against anxiety. And the best part, it's already within your reach. Because when you're stuck inside your head, the last thing you need is more thinking. What you really need is to come back to your body. Feel your feet planted on the ground. Take deep, steady breaths. Move your muscles. Take yourself out of the whirlwind inside your mind by doing something as simple as walking. Seneca, long before modern neuroscience, understood this. He advised going for walks to calm the mind, to reflect with more clarity. And he captured the idea perfectly when he wrote, "No wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where they're going." What does that mean for you? It means that if you're caught in a storm of emotions, you can't expect to drift into peace. You have to steer toward it. And sometimes all it takes is a single step to begin changing the direction of the wind. So the next time your mind tries to trap you in a loop of tension, don't sit there letting it spin. Stand up, move. Even if it's just a few minutes, take a mindful walk. No phone, no music. Just you, your breath, your steps, and the world around you. Notice the trees. Listen to the distant sounds. Feel the air on your skin. It's like gently guiding yourself back home to presence, to clarity. Or try something even simpler. Shake it off. Literally. It's called shaking. And yes, it might look silly, but it works. Move your arms, your legs, your neck. Let your body shake like it's releasing every bit of tension stored up inside. By the time you're done, it'll feel like you've taken off a heavy coat of stress you didn't even realize you were wearing. And if you're short on time, stretch like a cat. You've seen them, right? They wake up, yawn wide, and stretch every part of their bodies. You can do the same. Stretch your back, your shoulders, your arms, your legs. It takes 2 minutes. That's less time than reading most emails. And the relief? It can outmatch 10 positive affirmations. Because here's what no one tells you. Your mind may be screaming that the world's falling apart, but if your body feels grounded, at least part of you will stay calm. And on some days, that's more than enough. So, remember this. When your mind feels like a hurricane, don't overthink. Don't sit in silence chewing on worry. Start moving, because motion is medicine, and you'll feel the shift almost immediately. In the end, calm isn't something you wait for. It's something you move toward. And often, that calm starts not in your head, but right at your feet. Now, here's something we rarely admit sometimes. Our mind gets scared of calm. Ever had one of those days where everything feels oddly peaceful, and then out of nowhere your brain whispers, something's not right? Maybe it tells you, this is too quiet. I must have forgotten something. Something bad is coming. And just like that, your peace disappears, replaced by a flood of irrational anxiety. Why does that happen? Because your brain, wired for survival, often treats calm as a threat. It's uncomfortable with stillness. It expects trouble around the corner. And unless you're aware of this, your mind can sabotage your own sense of peace. Many people think that staying calm depends on external circumstances. If traffic is smooth, if their boss is in a good mood, if no one challenges their opinion, then and only then, they allow themselves to relax. But what if calm isn't a luxury handed to you when the world behaves? What if it's a decision, a daily, deliberate choice you make even when things around you are chaotic? Seneca knew this. He lived through betrayal, exile, and even threats to his life. Yet he moved through it all with a sense of internal stability, like someone wrapped in an invisible shield. He once said, "The more power something has over you, the weaker you are before it." And he didn't just write those words to sound wise, he lived them. Can you imagine Seneca with an emotional switch tucked into his toga? Someone tries to provoke him, and with practiced ease, he flips into calm mode. No yelling, no theatrics, just control. Just like Seneca taught us with his calm switch, today's science has a name for that skill. It's called emotional regulation. And no, it's not some magical talent you're born with. It's something you train over time through effort, practice, and consistency. Those people you admire for always staying cool, the ones who keep their composure even when everything around them is falling apart, they didn't come out of the womb that way. They failed, reacted, regretted, and learned. Over and over again, they practiced responding instead of reacting. Maybe you know someone like that. That friend who, right in the middle of a heated argument, just calmly sips their coffee and responds with clarity and ease, like nothing can shake them. Sometimes it feels like they're living on a different frequency, and you wonder, how do they stay so calm? The answer is simple. They've realized that calm isn't something that happens to you. It's something you choose. Losing your cool, getting loud, letting things spiral, it never helps. One thing that's helped me personally is what I call my emotional plan B. What is that? It's deciding ahead of time how I want to react when something triggers me. Because let's be real, there will always be something or someone testing your patience, trying to pull you into the chaos. But if I've already made a plan, if I've already chosen who I want to be in that moment, I'm way more likely to hold my ground. Another powerful tool? Create your own calm zone. No, it doesn't need to be a candlelit room with soft music and Zen decor unless that's your thing. It could be something simple. Putting on a calming song, taking a short walk, stepping outside for a deep breath, writing down your thoughts. It's about finding a mental reset space, a place you can return to when the world gets too loud. And there's a phrase I tell myself whenever I feel like I'm about to overflow. I say, I can be part of the problem or I can be part of the solution. That line gives me the space to choose. Do I want to add fuel to the fire or do I want to bring calm into the chaos? Every single time I choose peace, I feel the shift. My mind relaxes. The situation changes. My friend, your mind will try to pull you in every direction. It'll nudge you to react, to overthink, to stress about things that haven't even happened. But here's the truth only. You get to decide whether you follow that path or not. You decide whether to let yourself get swept away or to plant your feet and breathe. And if calm is always an option, and it is, then why not choose it more often? The more you choose calm, the more familiar it becomes. The easier it gets to come back to it, and the more you return, the freer you become. Because calm isn't a one-time decision, it's a habit, a practice, a way of life. Now let's talk about something even deeper. This is what I call the turning point. You are not what happens to you. You are what you choose to do next. People can betray you. You can lose your job. You might lose everything you thought you could count on. But what defines you is never the event. It's the action that follows. Because there is one thing no one can ever take from you, your power to choose how you respond. That right there is the birthplace of true strength. Let me tell you a story that brings this idea to life. Maybe you've heard of him, Brian Betty Oliver. Online, he's known as Brianator. From the moment he was born, it seemed like the odds were stacked against him. He faced spina bifida, degenerative muscle atrophy, and spent his life in a wheelchair. Just hearing that, most people would assume his life was going to be defined by limitations. But Brian made a different choice. He chose to fight with what he had. He chose laughter over bitterness, creativity over resentment, purpose over pity. One day, he picked up a camera, opened TikTok, and started sharing his world. And he didn't do it to gain sympathy. He did it with humor, with authenticity, with courage. People responded. Millions began to follow him. His content made waves. And from there, he stepped into film. The boy who was never supposed to fit the mold earned the respect of an entire industry and was nominated for a Goya Award as Best New Actor. Just think about that. He didn't choose his body. He didn't choose his challenges. But he did choose his attitude, his actions, his response. And that changed everything. Brian is not what happened to him. He is what he did with it. And you can be that too. That is the true power of a mind that refuses to be a victim. A mind that refuses to give up. Epictetus said it clearly, you cannot choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond. And that choice? It shifts everything. Because if you believe your identity is built on what happens to you, you're at the mercy of every bad day, every failure, every betrayal. But if you believe that what defines you is your response, then there's always hope, always a next step, always a way forward. So if what defines you is how you respond, then every painful experience becomes a doorway to strength. Because if bad experiences truly shaped who we are, we'd all be walking disastrous, every one of us carrying scars, betrayals, and moments of loss that turned us bitter. We'd be smashing plates, yelling at the rain, and living like characters from a soap opera. but we don't. Because what really defines you isn't the storm, it's what you do when it passes. Picture this. Your best friend, the one you trusted with everything, breaks that trust. They share a secret they swore they'd keep. Not just any secret, but one that leaves you exposed. One that even ends a relationship you deeply cared about. And in that moment, everything crashes. Your heart pounds with anger, disappointment, confusion. Your mind becomes a fireworks show of reaction. But if you follow those thoughts, if you let them carry you into yelling, revenge, shutting everyone out, you only deepen the pain. You stay stuck. But what if you took another route, Ione, that begins not with shouting, but with a pen? Yes, a pen. Because the moment you write down even 3 tiny steps you could take, you switch from victim mode to action mode. They might seem small, they might even seem silly, but they remind you you are not helpless. You still have power. And here's something else. Stop labeling everything that happens to you. Sometimes what feels like the end is really the beginning. That betrayal from a friend? Maybe it's the push you needed to focus on yourself, to surround yourself with people who truly care. That loss? Maybe it's what finally shakes you into growth. So next time something hurts, ask yourself not, why did this happen to me? But what can I learn from this? That one shift changes everything. Don't let your mind trap you in past regrets or imagined futures. Focus on the choice in front of you. Now, ask yourself this. If you're not defined by what happens to you, but by how you act, what story will you write with the life you've got right now? Because that story starts the moment you choose not to give up. And to write that story, you'll need 3 things: a strong mind, a steady spirit, and above all, a calm foundation. That brings us to a powerful truth. Learning to breathe properly can transform your mind. Seriously. It's not magic, it's pure, grounded science. And yet it's something we do all day long without noticing. And that, my friend, is exactly where the problem hides. According to Patrick McCunan of the world's leading experts on breathing and author of The Oxygen Advantage, most of us breathe the wrong way. We breathe too fast, too shallow, and without rhythm. And guess what happens? We accidentally signal our body to prepare for war. Our nervous system kicks into high alert as if we're facing a wild animal, even though all we're doing is opening an email or standing in a tense conversation. Your body screams, "Danger!" and your mind follows, spinning out of control. Suddenly, you're agitated, reactive, confused, and it all started with your breath. But here's the beautiful part. If you can change your breath, you can change your brain. Marcus Aurelius said it best in Meditations. If you are troubled by something external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it. And how do you change that judgment? Not by overthinking, but by breathing. Because calm breath leads to calm thought. Recently, I listened to a podcast by Jefferson Pfizer Hayes, a lawyer, an expert in emotional regulation, and one thing he said stuck with me. He described how in courtroom battles, lawyers often use sneaky questions to throw people off and trigger knee-jerk reactions. For example, imagine being asked, "So, you saw the car parking, but since you were in a rush, you chose to hit it, right?" The natural instinct is to jump in and shout, "No, that's not true." But Pfizer recommends something else. Pause, breathe, look them in the eye, then respond, "No, that's not true." Same words, but spoken with a calm, grounded voice. No rush, no panic, total control. And that's what gives you power not just in court, but in life. The way you breathe affects how others perceive you. More importantly, it affects how you perceive yourself. So next time you're in the middle of a tense meeting, a heated argument, or just feeling like the walls are closing in, pause. Breathe first. Give yourself 2 seconds. Those 2 seconds might be all it takes to stop a disaster. And when you're alone, when your mind is racing at 1,000 miles an hour, try this. The 4 to 7 -8 breathing technique. It's simple. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold that breath for 7. Then exhale slowly for 8. Repeat this 4 times. What you're doing is putting out the fire inside, not with logic, not with force, but with breath. That breath soothes your body, quiets your thoughts, and puts your mind back into your own hands. Because you can't afford to let your brain toss you around like a leaf in a storm. You're not a passenger. You're the one at the wheel. So the next time your thoughts try to sweep you away like a wave, remember your breath is the anchor. Only calm can take you where you truly want to go. And the fastest doorway to that calm is breath. Now here's a simple but powerful challenge. Stop everything for just 1 minute and breathe with intention. You don't need music. You don't need a quiet room. You don't even need to move. Just focus. Inhale slowly. Exhale even slower. Do it again. And when that minute is up, ask yourself, did something shift inside you? Did it feel like your brain finally took a step back, like your body remembered how to slow down? That tiny action, just 60 seconds, might be the first real step toward taking back control of your life. And speaking of control, let's talk about something that drains it faster than anything else. Obsessing over the past or the future. Getting stuck in what already happened or what might happen is like trying to drive a car while only staring into the rearview mirror, or being so focused on the GPS that you completely forget to watch the road ahead. You either crash into what's right in front of you, or you drift off track and get completely lost. And the worst part? You don't even enjoy the ride. You're physically present but mentally absent, tangled in thoughts you can't resolve. Marcus Aurelius didn't sugarcoat this truth. He said it plainly: man lives only in the present. The rest? It's already gone or hasn't arrived yet. And that wasn't just philosophy coming from a quiet monk. This was a man who ruled an empire. Now imagine if Marcus had spent his time replaying every decision. What if I shouldn't have sent those troops? What if that law was the wrong call? He wouldn't have led Rome. He'd be stuck on his throne, paralyzed by second guesses, while everything around him fell apart. Most people today live like that, in a mental loop of endless what-ifs. What if I had chosen a different career? What if it all falls apart? What if I lose everything? But my friend, what's the point of worrying about what you can't change or what hasn't even happened? The mind is brilliant, but it's also really good at dragging us down empty roads. If you don't train it, it'll lead you in circles all day long. And that's where anxiety creeps in, worrying about what could go wrong tomorrow. That's where sadness waits, mourning what didn't go right yesterday. And while your mind plays ping pong between those two worlds, you miss the only moment you can ever influence her right now. Let me give you a real-world example. You're overwhelmed. Your mom insists on organizing your kid's birthday party, doing it all her way, ignoring your voice. You bite your tongue all day, tension building inside. Then finally, on impulse, you grab your phone and vent in a long message to your partner. You spill everything you're feeling, but in that emotional rush, you send it to the wrong person, your mom. She's online. She's seen the message. Now panic sets in. Your mind spirals. Why did I do that? What if she's furious? What if this ruins everything? You're stuck, but not because of the message. You're stuck because your thoughts won't let it go. That's when you need to stop and return to the present. Because obsessing won't unsend the message. Worrying won't change what already happened. The only thing that can help is doing something now. So, how do you return to the present? First, try what I call a mental anchor. Carry something small with you, a bracelet, a coin, a smooth stone in your pocket. And every time your mind drifts into the past or starts running into the future, touch that object. Let it remind you, this moment, right now, this is what matters. Second, do a 1-minute reset, just 60 seconds. Put your attention only on what's in front of you. Notice what you're doing. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel your breath moving in and out. It's like hitting the reset button on your brain. It brings you back to center. And third, ask yourself the question that breaks the mental cycle. What can I do to fix this? Not to punish yourself, not to dig deeper into guilt, but to act. If there's something you can do, do it. If not, move on. Don't let your mind hold your hand and walk you through every fear and every regret it can invent. Because only calm will take you where you truly want to go. And that calm it only lives here, now, in this moment. And what's coming next? It might not be what you expect. It's not some elite brain technique or philosophical theory. It's something simpler, more grounded. Something you can do anytime with whatever is right in front of you. And yes, it might be exactly what your mind needs when everything inside feels like a mess. It's this. Use your hands. Let me ask you, when was the last time you did something real with your hands? And no, I don't mean scrolling your phone or tapping your keyboard. I mean shaping something, creating, building. When was the last time you cooked a meal without rushing? When did you last draw something just for fun? Or fix a squeaky door without watching the clock? Because in today's world, we live so much in our heads. We think and overthink, plan and worry, rehearse and regret. But our hands, they bring us back to earth. They pull us out of the storm of thought and into the now. So when your mind starts to spiral with thoughts, notifications, distractions, and more thoughts stacked on top, it's no wonder you feel overwhelmed. But the solution isn't buried in another book, podcast, or scrolling through endless social media tips. It's right in front of you. It's in your hands. As Epictetus once said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And sometimes embodying wisdom doesn't mean thinking more, it means doing. Getting out of your head and into action. Even Epictetus believed that worry could be defeated with movement. When you're stuck in thought, you're not solving anything. You're just digging a deeper, darker hole. But when you stand up and engage in something physical, something real, you send a powerful message to your mind. I'm in charge now. And it's not just Stoics who say this. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the one with the nearly unpronounceable name, discovered something powerful through his research on the concept of flow. That's the state when time disappears, your thoughts quiet down, and all that exists is what you're doing. You're fully present, immersed, alive. So what activities bring about this magical state? Surprisingly, they're often simple. Painting, kneading dough, shaping clay, handwriting, tinkering. These actions ground you in the now because they require your full attention in some form of movement. That's why during World War II, many soldiers engaged in manual tasks during their breaks. They carved wood, fixed broken tools, even sewed by hand. From the outside, it might have looked like child's play, but inside, something deeper was happening. These weren't just distractions. These were lifelines. They were ways to bring stability back to the mind when everything outside felt chaotic and unsafe. And the result? Those who work with their hands were far less likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress. They experienced less anxiety, more clarity, more control. While others were mentally stuck, these soldiers found a fragile but powerful peace in the act of creating. That's why I say this with zero exaggeration. If your mind feels like a mess, grab some paper and try what I call paper therapy. You don't need to be a talented artist. You don't even need to be good at it. Just draw, scribble, doodle, let your hands take over while your favorite music plays. You'll be amazed at how it starts to clear the fog without you even noticing. Or go simpler. Try modeling clay. Seriously, just like when you were a kid. Squeeze it. Roll it into balls. Smash it. Shape it. Do whatever feels right. Let your hands work and your brain soften. I honestly believe if the Stoics had access to modeling clay, they would have praised it as a tool for discipline and clarity. And here's another ID step into your kitchen. Not to scroll through recipes or check your phone. Just be with the ingredients. No distractions. Chop, knead, mix. Cook not to impress, but to reconnect. Let it be a sacred, grounding ritual. Because when you're there, elbow deep in flour or slicing vegetables, you're not in your mind, you're in the moment. And that, my friend, is where calm lives. That's when you feel alive. That's when the noise begins to fade. Remember, you don't have to wait for your mind to fall apart to take action. You can interrupt the chaos by simply choosing to use your hands. Do something. Anything. Create. Fix. Move. This is your final challenge. The next time you feel like your brain is about to collapse under the pressure, step away from the overthinking. Use your hands. Paint, doodle, bake, clean. Build anything that roots you in the present. And who knows? Maybe as you reconnect with something real, you'll discover a hidden talent you didn't know you had. And even if you don't, what you'll reclaim is far more valuable: your own presence. Because so many people today have forgotten that one of the simplest ways to calm the mind is to reconnect to life through the body. Training your mind to stay calm won't happen overnight. It's not a one-time breakthrough or a single journal entry. It's a journey, a decision you make again and again. A quiet decision not to explode, not to feed fear, not to fall into chaos. And each time you choose calm, you build something stronger. You choose freedom, you take your power back. And little by little, you stop living at the mercy of every trigger, every emotion, every wave of panic. You begin to live with clarity from the inside out. And that's what true strength looks like. If you've made it this far, write it in the comments. I choose to live in calm. Let that be your declaration. Let that be your reminder. That's how I'll know you're one of the real ones. One of the modern-day Stoics who stayed until the end. And if this video brought you value, don't forget to like it, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. Also, check out the playlist on your screen. It's packed with ideas, wisdom, and real-world tools to help you navigate life with more confidence, control, and peace. Click I10, let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.